branding with Parna. So Parna's going to give you a second to introduce yourself, and then we can go from there with the questions and everything.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. So, as far as introduction goes, I would probably say that facilitating business transformation, spotlighting innovators and entrepreneurs, and championing underrepresented communities have been my forte and my passion. I really enjoy bringing emerging technologies to life and showcasing their impact on society and the planet. And I started my career in the corporate world, both large companies, small companies, and startups, helping them either grow or reposition their company, doing market expansion, getting ready for acquisition, IPO, what have you. And then I've done dozens of product launches here and globally. So I've really had the privilege of working with some amazing business leaders and technologists and innovators. And about 6.5 years ago, I decided to launch my own company. And I work a lot with SMBs and startups and essentially helping them in various capacities, whether it's developing strategies to shape the future of their business, to creating solid go to market strategy. So, whatever they need from a business standpoint, that's what we do.
And you've been doing a lot of stuff with us as well. With all the again, I appreciate all the help with the pitch practices, and you're really helpful with fine tuning a lot of the things that a lot of people overlook, right? That we don't even know we need we know we need rather. Sorry, like elevator pitches and all that stuff, and just basically bringing stories to life, giving a product to life, being able to relate to people, right? Like being able to touch them in a way that they understand what you're trying to, how you're trying to change the world in a positive way. So explain to me more. So what is market credibility in your perspective? Because you say that use that a lot with us, but I want to hear it from you right now. Like what is it and why is it so important rather for any business or person or individual?
Yeah, so let's look at it from a company standpoint, whether you're a startup or you are a bigger company, established company. To me, market credibility is really about the perception. How is a company perceived by their customers, by their partners? Oftentimes, you'll hear companies talk about sustainability and diversity. It's like checkbox, right? But you really have to kind of peel back the layer to see, are they really walking the walk? Because at the end of the day, that is, are you delivering on all the promises that you're making? And that's kind of the perception that companies can have. I also strongly believe, like you were saying, the founder and the CEO or the CEO, they play a huge role in building and maintaining the brand reputation, the credibility not only of themselves but also for the company. And if you think about it, if you are a CEO or a leader, serve on a leadership position in a public company, something that you might say is going to impact your stocks. If you
Yeah, definitely. It's just like you said, like it's really difficult sometimes balancing out like the public good. Like you said, you focus mostly on companies that like want to better the world, but sometimes like you said, what you say could actually affect negatively, right? Your stock. So how do you leverage? How do you balance that out, rather?
Yeah, absolutely. And oftentimes, like, people don't think about it. It's like, oh yeah, I just said it over coffee, or I said it off the record. Well, there is no off the record in reality. So I think that is definitely important to keep in mind. And if you kind of bring that to in today's world, for example, look at what's happening with X. Look at what's happening with Meta, right? Because like recently, as you saw, with Mark Zuckerberg talking about not I think he said that he's going to stop fact checking on the platforms. Um, and if I remember reading, I think I read somewhere that one of the top searches in Google right now is how do you delete Insta, FB, and Threads simultaneously. So
Yeah,
again,
it's tough. It's
it's
really difficult
yeah.
because I believe that even when I'm not sure if you advise this, but even Mark Zuckerberg, when he goes on shows like Joe Rogan, I've heard that he actually brings lawyers with him just in case, so he doesn't say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and they stop him like, listen, you can't say that.
Yeah. So again, that's why whatever when the CEO opens their mouth, it's very important that they think through what they're saying. Their, how they want the company to be perceived. A lot depends on the founder or the CEO of a company. Fortunately,
Definitely.
fortunately, I'm not.
It's all good. Yeah. So on that note, so like, can you elaborate on the concept of people invest in products and not the founders? Because you just said that it's really important. No matter what the founder says, that can affect the company's stock. But what does it mean? Like the products are more important than the founder, or was it the other way around? People invest in the founders, not the product.
I would say
Sorry.
that is the other way around.
All right.
because because when I talk to investors, or I listen to investors, one of the reasons that they are investing in a company is really the founder or the leadership team. Because oftentimes, like, I would ask them, it's like, what about the product? So their response to that usually is, obviously the founder or the co-founders know about the product because they are building it. They are geeks. They are like smart people. But when they invest in the company, they're really looking at the founder and seeing if the founder is really an entrepreneur. Can the person grow, scale the company? Can the founder build the company, build the right team? So it's really a lot of that is on the founder. Um, and also, if you look at, you talked about the product. Yes, the product is really important because people are buying the product. So at the end of the day, when you're launching a product or you're positioning a product, you also have to focus more on the impact the product is going to have on your life. Is it going to make your life easier? Is it going to help you do things better? um, and I think this is like one of the challenges that I always have with startup founders, is that the product is their baby, right? They've been
Yeah,
changing it, tweaking
and
it.
it's very difficult to pivot. By the way, it's extremely. I've worked with you on this. It's extremely difficult. The reason I wanted to frame the question in that confusing way was because a lot of people do get caught up in the product, right? They're like, it's a product. The product's going to change the world, and they don't realize that the founders are really more important, right? And their ability to pivot, right? That which you talk about a lot, right? That it's not that's the hardest part. So
Yeah.
would you say that's an aspect that the when you focus on founders, is that an aspect that's very important? For example, I know that YouTube started off as a dating website. They pivoted to basically what they are now. And Venmo was a website for basically people to buy music directly from musicians, but they were able to pivot to what they are now, where basically peer to peer sending trans money. And I guess they make their money by people looking at what the cool stuff that people are sending money to other people for. So, in that aspect, is that what you said the founder is more important? Is the founder's ability to pivot, or is that how they pitch the product?
I think I think the to me this is very personal, and especially this is what I've been based this is based on my experience. It's not bookish knowledge, or there might be somebody else with a different opinion.
Which is why we're talking to you because you have an amazing resume. But we'll continue with that in a second. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I think when investors when a founder is pitching, I think it's really important that the first 30 seconds they really help the investors understand the market opportunity. How is it going to save the world, help people, and is it going to make money for them? Because at the end of the day, investors are investing, because they want to get rich. They want to, enter a new market and make sure that their investment is going 10 times more quickly. So I think the founders are very, very important. And one of the things that I talk a lot about, and I write about, is you need to have a brand with purpose. It's not about the speeds and feeds of your product. It's really about this amazing product that you've built. What is it going to do for me, for your users? Is it going to give you access to your medical information right away when you are traveling? Or, is it going to make the world a better place? So I think that impact. is really important when you're talking about a product, at least in my opinion. And almost every company, actually, every company that I worked with or advised, one of the things that we always do is how do you humanize the technology? How do you talk about the impact the product is going to have on society, on the planet, or whatever? So you should have a brand with a purpose.
Definitely understand that because, like you say, the story is important, humanizing the story, because sometimes investors don't understand the technology, but they want to understand at an emotional level, right? We're emotional beings that this is the product they want to invest in, that it excites them to invest in, that this can change the world as well as, like you said, make the money. And if you have to sell, hey, you have to wait a few years to make the money. You have to explain to them why it's worth the wait, right? So let's switch gears for a second. You work with startups all over the world. I mean, mainly in the US, but all over the world. Your articles are read all over the world. So why do you think that the US has so many more entrepreneurs per capita and in just pure numbers than every other country in the world for the most part?
So I think I looked at there's two data points that I want to use for that, and I'm glad you asked the question. One was a CEO World Magazine, I think it was a 2024 report, and also Global Entrepreneurship Index. They both claim their reports both claim that U.S. has been recognized as the world's most entrepreneurial country, followed by Germany and the U.K. In my opinion, I think there are four reasons. There's obviously a lot more than four. But the first, I personally think, and you and I have been part of the innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem for a while. But
Yeah, shout out to Boston.
yeah,
Go ahead.
so I personally think that US has a really top class startup hubs. You know, whether it's in Boston or Silicon Valley, New York, the ecosystem that we have here is really solid. I also think that we have a very strong culture of innovation, no matter which part of the country you're in, west or east. Um, and entrepreneurs here, I feel, are encouraged to take risks. And and the
So
entrepreneur,
we're more. So you were saying is more. Sorry, but we're more risk tolerant than other countries that are more risk averse. Is that what you're saying?
I, in my opinion, I think that entrepreneurs here tend to take more risks. Because
And that's interesting because we have less welfare here, right, than the UK. Less welfare to fall back on, right, as compared to the UK, France, or Germany. So I just find that a really interesting point you just made. So we think
yeah,
that we'd be more risk averse, and they'd be more risk tolerant.
yeah, for sure. So again, it all depends on like what industry you're in and who's part of your ecosystem. The third I would say is that we have a pretty solid venture capital infrastructure, I think.
Our equity market's some of the biggest in the world.
Yeah, because when I talk to like entrepreneurs like in different countries, they're all trying to get to the investors in the US.
That's surprising.
It's like uh you don't know the market, you don't know the investors. You want me to introduce you to an investor? Like, why would I do that? But it's so essentially it's guiding them to say, okay, in your country, these are the places you should check out to see if there's an investor who might be able to support you better than trying to get a US investor to invest in your product, which yeah. So I feel that at least just based on my conversation, I feel like we have a very solid infrastructure. And the final
And
point,
Parna,
especially,
before you get to your final point, I just want to say that I didn't realize that because I went to an event a few years ago that was basically an African entrepreneurial summit, and they said, "Oh yeah, if you're a black founder, it's a better idea to go to Ghana because more black founders raise money there, and if you're, you work with multicultural and startup founders of all races, and you focus also on female founders. And people don't realize, like you said, that the U.S. is the best place for any kind of funding, no matter what race or creed you are, what your ethnic origin is. I just want to make that the fact that you just said that right now. That's just I'm also learning as well, but as we're doing this, so I appreciate you making that a big point as well. But what's your final point?
my final point was education system, right? I mean, if you just think about Boston alone, we have the MIT, Boston University. There's like tons of academic institutions over here that are not only doing like cutting edge research, but they're also fostering the next generation of innovators, entrepreneurs, technologists. So I feel that a combination of, being a top hub, a solid culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, and having the talent and the expertise and the research, kind of are parts of what makes us such a strong, um, entrepreneurial country. And of course, there's
Okay.
like billions of countries as well. I feel like those are some of the top ones, to me at least.
So you're advising myself and my team and the other startups that you work with. You always say work smarter, not harder. What does that mean specifically? Because that's a very broad statement. Does it mean you just like do 10 minutes of work a day and then just relax and just hope everything works out?
What do you think I do? I just attend to work and I go play golf. No, I'm kidding.
Maybe you do. I don't know.
No,
Networking, right? I'm
I,
kidding.
I think it's like, excuse me. I think for me, and I've always said this to my team when I was in the corporate life. It's like, you don't have to work like 22-hour days to deliver. It's like, how do you work with the team? How do you prioritize what you have to do? Are there tools that you can leverage that's going to automate some of the tasks so that you can focus more on strategy, for example? um, it's really about using your time and resources better. And if I'm looking at it from a founder's perspective, whether it's you, me, or any other founder, our job is primarily to run the company, to sell our product, to make sure our customers are happy, our clients are happy. Like, that's our job. um, but but we also need to have a digital presence. We also need to show our thought leadership. We also need to support the community. There's like all of the other things that we have to do, right? So if I take an example of networking, for example, like everybody tells you should go network, and all these events that are happening.
By the
Well,
way, which is easier in cities like where we are in Boston, New York City. We're like in the middle, so it's really easy for us, but not necessarily easy for everybody to do. I
right.
want to make that point.
So what I believe in is, whatever you do, do with a purpose. Like, if I need to go, if I want to network, so part of my networking strategy is that, yeah, I can be out all day every day just hanging out and meeting people. But really, what I like to do is that, this month there's all of these events. I'm going to go to two. um and So most of the events that I go to, and Mike, this, I'm either speaking or I'm supporting somebody, or it's like I'm involved in some way.
Yeah.
I don't believe in just going and attending an event for the heck of it, just because I don't have the time. But if I do decide to go to a couple of events a month, for example, it'll be very thought out. It's like, okay, I'm going here because I want to learn about XYZ, or I want to connect with whoever. So it's never I'm just going to go and hang out, but it's with purpose, to say, okay, I have limited resources, limited time, I have all the other stuff to do. How do I network with purpose? So I think for me, that's an example of work smarter, not harder. But like, I don't want to be out 5 days a week, half a day, and then come back and work like 3 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the morning just to deliver and all the stuff that we have to do. So that's uh that's essentially my philosophy.
Yeah, a lot of people that aren't watching this right now are actually going to be missing out on a lot of valuable information that people pay lots of money to take MBA courses for, as you know. So when I was at New York City, networking with a purpose, of course, in 2020, they told me, listen, in the next 10 years, we're going to see more innovations than we've seen in the basically past millions of years of human history put together, combined. What do you think are the next, basically, what technology is going to dominate the next 5 to 10 years? Like, in your perspective, like, what are the technology or technologies that are really basically the theme of the next 5 to 10 years? If entrepreneurs are thinking of opening a startup, and like you said, it's not necessarily the product, it's more the founder. If somebody has that instinct, I want to start a business or a startup, but I want to get into an innovative technology that nobody really, that's not saturated yet, right?
Yeah,
what do you think is the next theme of the next 5 to 10 years in technology advancements?
that's a really good question, Mike. So the way I would advise any startup founder is don't think about the technology. Think about what problem are you looking to solve? What's the concept that you think you're going to be able to build a company? And once you know that, then you look at the technology that's going to help you build your product. Oftentimes is the other way around. So, I kind of look at what technology is dominating the airwaves, right? So a few years back, it was all about digital transformation. Then it was AR, VR. Then it was, oh my God, I'm losing the wearables. So every year there's something that's hitting the airwaves. Now it's all about AI. Before that was, I think, robotics. But when you look at the technology, yeah, so there's a lot of companies right now, for example, everything is around AI. They want their product to be AI, they need the company name to be AI, and just because AI is like the hot thing. Well, a few years back it was NFT and metaverse, like what,
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, now it's kind of like dead, right?
yeah, but if you think about it, the technologies are still there. Digital transformation technologies are still there. AR, VR is still there. So it's not like the technologies are disappearing. It's just that what's in the airwaves, and that's AR right now. So, in my opinion, it's always what I like to counsel is that come up with what it is that you're trying to solve, and then look at the technology, because people are not investing in technology, they're more investing in the solution and this problem that you're solving. But to me, I feel there's three areas that we're going to see more of a boom. One is obviously AI. It's not going away. And again, AI is not new. We've had AI forever. It's just Chat GPT kind of brought it to life, and now, of
Yeah, the
course,
implementation, execution right now, we're really seeing in real life, as before it was just all theory, right?
yeah, exactly, yeah, and now people are seeing it in action. So I think we will see more AI based solutions, technologies, models, what have you. That's going to explode. While the regulation and ethics are obviously going to still be top of mind, because it all has to work well. I think the second category we'll probably see would be the blockchain and distributed ledger technologies, because we'll see that transforming the industries like supply chain and finance and healthcare and so on.
We love healthcare and blockchain and healthcare rather.
Exactly,
Yep.
right? You need that. And then robotics. I think robotics is still a very strong market. Excuse me, industry. I We can see a lot of consumer robotic companies have died. iRobot is still going strong, and I don't know if you know this was I was part of iRobot and part of the team that took the company public. But that is
They
still,
have some competition, by the way, with Tesla, right? With the Tesla bots. I'm just saying. But yeah, that's congratulations on that. Though. That's pretty cool. I did not know that.
yeah. So that's kind of when there was no robot market, and along with Helen Collin and Rod and the team, we created the whole robotics ecosystem like years ago. And now it's the world of humanoid robots. Even like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, humanoid robot was like, yeah, okay, it's gonna happen. It's gonna come and kill people. It's strong and all of that,
Yeah.
right? Take away our jobs. But now robots are like our peers. They're in the warehouse, they are in hospitals. So it's kind of what we call cobots now. So the world of cobots and humanoid robots are going to go strong. And now it's a matter of seeing which company lasts.
So we put a link to basically your work on Forbes magazine. So if people want to learn more about you and what you do, they can click on that. But before we ride into the sunset for the day, give us this is the beginning of the year 2025. People are going in hard, right? Hopefully, we don't have a lot of people quitting on their New Year's resolutions tomorrow. Probably tomorrow's the biggest day of the year to quit. But what would you say to entrepreneurs right now that are struggling or just starting their journey? What are some tips you'd give to them, like basically going into 2025?
I would give them two tips. One is make sure that you have a digital presence. People should be able to find you, not just who you are, but as an expert in your industry. So that having a digital presence is really important for founders. And you should not wait till you have a company or you have a product, but it's something that they should build their market credibility and their digital footprint as early as possible. The second thing that I tell entrepreneurs is that you should be prepared to pivot, because oftentimes you talk about pivots and they're like, oh no, the company is pivoting because of a failure, but not really. People pivot in their careers, people pivot, when you even big companies pivot, but entrepreneurs have to pivot. And in fact, I love, I don't know if you've seen a video by Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful.
Love that guy.
Yeah. Where he talks about the most important skill for an entrepreneur is to know how to pivot. And as somebody who has helped like dozens of companies pivot, I can tell you that pivots are hard. It's really hard because
Very difficult.
you're changing everything, but you also have to make sure that you're bringing every employee along that journey. And so it's really important that you bring in the right people, the right experts to help you with that pivot and make sure that it's successful, and not pause midway, because then you're going to go back to doing things as you were. So I would say those are my two things: is make sure you have a digital presence and be ready to pivot, but pivot with purpose.
Definitely. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk offline after the holiday. Enjoy your holiday as well. Holiday
Thank
weekend rather. Even though we're always working, but try to enjoy this holiday weekend as much as you can.
Well, you too, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Anytime. Upwards and onwards.
Bye.